In this section, we're going to talk about how to label different types of angles, as well as the relationship between complementary and supplementary angles.
When we measure angles, we measure them in degrees. An angle is the degrees between two lines. One of the types of angles that we're going to be looking at is called an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle between 0 and 90 degrees. On the right here, I have a circle that shows all the different degrees. So 90 degrees is somewhere here. So an acute angle is a small angle that starts at 0 and stops at a number somewhere between 0 and 90. We call this acute angle. So it would look like this, or like this, or like this. Any degree that is less than 90 degrees in between the two lines. A right angle is an angle that is exactly 90 degrees. There is no change in what a right angle looks like. It is always 90 degrees. So between the two lines, a short way to write a right angle is using a little square in the corner. The little square symbol means that we're talking about an exactly 90-degree angle, or a right angle. An obtuse angle is a larger angle that is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So we always begin at 0, and an obtuse angle will stop somewhere in this zone. This is what an obtuse angle would be. So somewhere between 90 and 180. So we're going to have a wide difference between the two legs.
Our next angle is called the straight angle. It's called the straight angle because it represents a perfectly straight line, which is always going to be from 0 to 180, always 180 degrees. Now, we don't have a special symbol for a straight angle, but we know that it's always going to be exactly 180 degrees. Our last angle is called a reflex angle. A reflex angle is a very large angle between 180 and 360 degrees. That means we're starting at the 0 and we're rotating all the way around and stopping somewhere here between 180 and 360 degrees. This area is called a reflex angle. And a reflex angle can look many different ways. It could look like this, which looks a little bit similar to acute. But acute is on the inside of a reflex. It's a small angle. The reflex angle is the outside, the big portion of the angle. That is the reflex. And our last thing here is a full rotation. In other words, a circle where we start at 0 and we go all the way around is exactly 360 degrees. A really common way to label an angle is to use the 3 points that it sits in between. The symbol for angle is this sideways looking L. So anytime you see this symbol, this means angle. So below, it's asking us to find 4 different angles. The first angle we're looking for is angle EHD. The first thing I'm going to do is find these 3 points on my picture. Here is E, here is H, and here is D. So the angle is between E, H, D. So what I'm actually looking for is this bit right here. I'm going to do the same with my next angle, angle BGH. So first find those 3 letters, B, G, H, and connect them. BGH. The angle I'm looking for is right here. The next example is angle CHE. Again, we start by finding where those letters are. Here is C, here is H, and here is E. Then connect them. C, H, E. The angle I'm looking for is between those two lines right there. And last example is angle BGA. Here is B, here is G, and here is A. All those three are on the same line, which means I have a straight angle. So the angle I'm looking for is right there. So when we label angles, we use the 3 points that the angle lies in between. Another way to label angles is by simply putting a letter next to the angle. Here I don't have points, I'm just given 2 angles. So this little bit here is represented by the angle little a. So if I were to write this, this is angle little a because there are no other letters. Same with the top angle here. This is angle B. And again, the reason that we do that is because we don't have 3 points. We just have a different label on our angle. One of the definitions that we need to know for this section is complementary angles. This is where 2 or more acute angles, so small angles, add up to 90 degrees. That means that the full corner here is exactly 90 degrees. So that means angle A plus angle B is going to give me exactly 90 degrees. This is called a complementary angle or angle pair. Here's an example of where we need to find one of the complementary angles. So because these angles are complementary, we know that the total angle here is going to be 90 degrees. That means that 75 degrees plus x is going to equal exactly 90 degrees. So if we wanted to find our missing angle here, all we need to do is figure out what should x be. Something plus 75 is 90 degrees. So I could say, okay, if I want just x, then I could take 90 degrees and minus the 75 degrees that I know I have, and whatever is left over must be x. And the leftover part is 15 degrees. That is my missing angle. And you can, of course, check your work. 75 plus 15 does equal 90 degrees. So the check does work out. A second relationship that we should know is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles is very similar to complementary, except that when they come together, they create a straight angle, which means the total amount that we're looking for is 180 degrees. So here's an example of supplementary angles. We have 2 angles that come together and they are making a straight line. That means that x plus 130 is going to give me exactly 180 degrees, or a straight line. Again, to find my x by itself, I need to know what part of 180 is left over if you take away 130. So, to find my x, I take my total, 180 degrees, and I subtract 130. I want to take away this piece and see what is left over. This gives me the result that x is 50 degrees. Here is a slightly more difficult example. Here, I again have supplementary angles. Supplementary means two angles that come together to make a straight line. That means that the first angle, 7x, plus the second angle, 3x, have to come together to equal 180 degrees. And I want to know what is x. Well, if I put these together, 7x's plus 3x's, together that's going to give me 10x's. So 10 times a number gives me 180 degrees. To get the x by itself, I need to say, okay, 10 times a number gives me 180 degrees. So let's divide by 10 and see what is left over. This gives me that x must be 18 degrees. 18 times 10 is going to give me 180. In my last example, I have a little bit more complicated of a picture. Here, I have three different angles making a straight line. I have A plus 144 plus A, and that's giving me the straight line up top here. I also have some angles on the bottom, but I don't have any information, so I don't need to worry about the bottom part. I'm just going to focus on the top. So the top, I have supplementary angles, but I have three of them. So that means when I write my equation, I'll say A plus 144 plus A equals 180 degrees, right? They're making a straight line. And again, I want to put some things together so that it's not so messy. I have an A here and I have an A here. That makes two of them. So really, this is 144 plus 2 A's is going to give me 180 degrees. And I'm looking for what is just A by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus 144. I'm going to take away this piece and see what is left over. So if I minus 144, this is going to give me that the two A's are equal to 36 degrees. So 36 degrees, it's what's left over here and here. But 36 degrees is both of the A's together. I want to know what is just A by itself. So since there's two of them, I'm going to divide by 2 to just get the A by itself. So that means that A must be 18 degrees. And you can always check your work. 18 plus 18 plus 144. Type that into your calculator. You should get 180 degrees. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Please subscribe to the channel and click on the next video for more angle relationships.